How can you build a vertical garden? In part 1 of this video, we discussed growing vertically if you have limited space, whether you're going to be growing indoors or outdoors. And I mentioned that I would be doing a series on this topic, and in the second part of the video, which we're doing now, we'll be showing you how you can build a vertical garden. And so we're gonna start small, and this I am doing in the unfinished section of my basement. So I'm going to be showing you step by step what it is that I do as I build my vertical garden. I apologize that my layout is not very neat. Unfortunately, this basement floor is very rough. It is not smooth, it is not level. So it is difficult to set this up, but anyway, let's not get stray away from the point. So if you notice down there, I have two pieces, and those are going to be the outer frame of the vertical greenhouse. So if you pay close attention, you'll see that we have a left side and a right side. So when you are connecting the pieces, you want to ensure that you keep left and right in mind. Now, this is a piece of 1x4 board. And if you're going to be putting large plants, then you need to use 2x4. But if you are putting just small plants on here, then 1x4 works well. So this is an 8-foot length, and I cut it down to 6 feet because I only have a few inches above 6 feet for the height of the garden in here, because that's where the ceiling stops. So the 8-foot board is cut down to 6 feet, and then the other extra 2 feet is used to do the base. So now what I'm going to be doing is connecting those two pieces. And I'm going to be working on this project as time goes by, but for now I just want to give you an idea of how you can build your own vertical garden. So as you connect the ends together, you want to ensure that your material is flush. So when you draw your hand against it like this, you shouldn't feel your hand bumping against where the joint is. It should be lined up, and the same thing goes for the bottom. And you want to make it as square as possible. However, if the floor that you have is not level, and unfortunately some homes are like that because over time soil may shrink or sink, and so the floor might be lean or it might be crooked. So pay close attention to that when you are building, if you're going to be building an indoor garden. And even if you're doing an outdoor garden, sometimes you may have a slope on your property, so you have to keep that in mind if you want your vertical garden to stand up without wobbling around, and especially if you have windy environments. So because this is only for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to be dismantling this as time goes by. So for this, to make it stronger, you can put a cross piece from here to here at a 45-degree angle to keep it firm. So now what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be connecting another 6-foot piece from here to the other material. So it's going to be connected like this. And I'm only going to be using 4 screws to hold it together. When you're drilling into the side of wood, especially if you're close to the edge, wood tend to like to split, and the thinner the wood is, the more likely it is that it is going to split. and even along this width, because it is so close to the edge, it may split, and so it is a good idea to countersink your screw head. So what you would do is use a countersink bit, or if you don't have a countersink bit, you get a regular bit that is the width of, or the diameter of, your screw head, and use that to just go deep enough just so that when you put your screw in, the screw head sinks and is flush with the top of your board. So no need to go out and get expensive tools if you don't have it. If you don't have the countersink, regular drill bit the size of your screw head will work. Another thing to consider too, as you put your screws in here and you're going to be screwing this to this, you want to line up these screws so that they do not intersect with the ones that are already installed. So for example, you would put your screws here where they won't meet with these. So I've already connected the next side. Now we're just going to go ahead and connect this side. You want to make sure it is lined up properly. And just like that, we have the first section of our vertical garden. So as you can see, I went ahead and I put in the columns for the vertical garden. In the corner there, you will notice that I have pots attached to the columns. On the bottom, I have 16 inches from the bottom to the one above it, and 16 inches from that one to the one above it, 12 inches for the other pots above that. Now the height that you're going to allow above each row is dependent on the size plant that you are going to be growing. If you are going to be growing indoors, like I am doing now, then you need to also consider space for your grow lights. And I'm going to be showing you what I'm doing with grow lights. And as you can see, I've also used a thick tarp to enclose this to trap more heat in here. And I'm using the heater from my wormery, which is just behind me, to heat this area as well. This is just a temporary setup until I can turn this entire area into a wormery and greenhouse. So I'm just going to use 2 screws. That's what I've been doing, using 2 screws to hold those in place. And no, I'm not cold, although I'm in a winter jacket. It's because I'm going in and out of the house. So let me give you a closer look at what's going on here. In here, I have my seedlings growing. And over here, I have 4 larger containers. And the purpose of this little area that I have created, just this framing that I have here, it is 2 feet from this point here to the end there. So 2 feet in width, 6 feet in length, and 6 feet high. Now, so that means that I have 12 square foot of floor space. So when you do vertical gardening, you want to turn that 6 square feet or whatever square foot of vertical garden you have into as many layers as you possibly can. So in this little 12 square foot, based on the setup that I have here, because I have 1 container, 2 container, 3, 4 containers stacked above each other, which means that if I am to duplicate that, I could have like 1, 2, 3 coming this way, and then I could have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is going to go there, 5, and that one in the corner makes 6. And if I was to duplicate that, so have 1 plant in the middle there and 1 plant on the end here, it means that for those 6 plants by 4 plants, that would be 24 plants times 3. That is 72 plants that I could have in here. So instead of having 12 square foot of garden, I have now turned this into 12 times 4, because we have 4 pots. 12 times 4, which is 48 square foot of garden. That is the benefit of growing vertically, because you don't need a lot of space to grow a lot of food. In these containers, in this one I have potatoes that I've just started. In here I have cocoa. A lot of people know it as cocoa yam, but in Jamaica it's just cocoa. Here I have sweet potato that I have trellised, and over there I have my tomato, and I'm going to put 1 more large container like this, and I'm going to be growing red kidney beans into that. The whole idea is for this small area that I have here, I must be able to have a balanced meal from that little area. So as you can see here, I have the bottom part of green onions that I've harvested. In this container here, I have lettuce, and all the other containers across the top here is going to be lettuce. The second row here is going to be a different type of lettuce. In this one and that one there, I have kale, and I'm going to have a few Chinese cabbages on the third row growing across, and on the bottom here I'm going to have more of the what's that, red pigeon peas. Yeah, the not pigeon peas, those are trees and not plants. So I'm going to have red kidney beans growing down there. So I have staples, I have my protein source, which is the red kidney beans, I have my iron, I have pretty much the nutrients that I need. So kale is rich in vitamin C and vitamin K. So the whole idea is to have a balanced diet from the area that you're growing, because what happens in case of an emergency? What happens if meat is being recalled? What happens if for whatever reason you don't have access to food? You want to be growing the type of food to ensure that your family can live and have a balanced diet. So when you're planting, you want to keep that in mind. Yes, you may not be vegetarian. I am definitely not vegetarian, never ever planning to be one. But at the same time, when you're growing, you want to ensure that what you're planting is enough to give you a balanced meal in case of emergency. So here, if you notice, I have my grow light set up, and on the side there beside the pot, you will notice I have that column, and I have the same thing here. I'm going to be putting one here as well, and the grow light is also going to go here. Now, the purpose of these vertical columns is not to attach pots to them, but to attach grow lights. So, for example, for these pots that are right here, I could put a grow light right underneath these pots going across there, and that would provide lights for these pots. I could do the same down here. I could do the same down there. Now, I am going to be lining the entire greenhouse with mylar, but because this is a temporary arrangement until I can set up this unfinished basement as a greenhouse, I am just probably going to line it with foil paper for now until I have the setup that I want. But the whole idea is just to show you that you can grow indoors or outdoors, because this setting can be used whether indoors or outdoors. The good thing is with outdoors, you do not need grow lights, so that's where you're going to be saving. Now, this setting can be done, this framing can be done differently, where you're not attaching your containers to the columns. You could actually build shelving and put your pots on shelving. Now, one of the things that I don't like about shelving is that it is expensive to buy a lot of lumber, especially now with prices going up. The second thing is that when you use shelving, unless it is shelving like these, then it blocks. And even if it is shelving like these, for example, look at this one here, all of the shelving space is occupied, which means that the light from up above cannot reach to it. So I would definitely have to use a second light here. So each layer I would definitely have to use a light. With this arrangement, where I have the light up there and I have the containers, there is space there. Now the plants are going to take up some of the space, but I space them out so that they can still have enough space for light to pass through. That is also the purpose of using the mylar in here, because one, it will reflect the heat and it will reflect the light, which means that I'm going to need less heating and less lighting. So that is why I like this form of setup. Another thing that you can do too is, for example, you have this here. Rather than putting one here, you could alternate them. So one here, one down there, one up there, one down there, because that allows you space for your plants to grow if you're growing larger plants. And it also allows where more light can reach down to your plants. So the choice is yours where that is concerned. I know this is a long video, but I want to help as many people as possible to be able to grow as much as possible in the small space that they have. So I apologize that the video is this long, but in order to help you guys to get the best outcome, then I'm trying to explain as much as possible. So this is how you grow vertically. This is just one of the methods that you can use to grow vertically. This little greenhouse here is another method that you can use to grow vertically. And there are several ways. These pots, you could also have them where you have these cross sections up here, and you could use string to hold these pots in place as opposed to screwing them to the columns. Now, the reason why I have this type of pot and I have this type of pot is that some people will be able to afford buying pots. For some, if they're just getting started, or even if they've started before, it can be a bit of an expense to be able to buy the material to build the framing for the vertical garden, and then turn around and buy soil, buy fertilizer, and then turn around and buy seeds and the pots. So if you can recycle, then that is a good way to do it. And so that is why I have these here to show you that it doesn't have to be anything complicated. So I'm going to be continuing with this series because I'm going to plant out all of this. I'm going to actually finish the framing here, and I'm going to be showing you over a period of time during the growing season of the things that I have here, how you can grow and how much you can actually get from just 12 square foot of floor space when you do vertical gardening. So if you enjoy this video and you would like to see how much I'm getting from this garden and how much effort it takes, if you want to see various ways that you can set up water in these containers and more, then please subscribe to my channel. You can leave a comment or question in the section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Yeah man, a time for grow.